Good morning, everyone. It's Lottie from Cancer as a Lifestyle. So a couple weeks ago, I did a video on, I think it was called Attention All Crafters. And on it, I was looking for people who belong to a group. Now, it didn't matter to me if you belong to a group with crocheting or sewing, or you could have been to a bowling group but I wanted some input on groups in general. And so I asked a couple questions like, you know, uh, where do you meet? How often do you meet? Things like that. How long is your meeting? Oops, excuse me. And, do you have to supply your own materials, or is that provided for you? I was just looking for, you could call it like a little survey. Now, I had reasons for doing so. Next month in August, the ministry will be celebrating 6 years. And it's been 6 years since I started this group. And in that time, just like it's really normal that, we've gone through a lot of different changes. And it seems like almost every year we do something different, or something new is added or deleted. And I've noticed that since we moved here, and I mean that I mean my daughter and I, since we moved out of the city and we came into the suburbs, that was like, it's going to be 3 years in December. This really put a distance between the ladies and myself in miles, because where I'm at is actually quite a distance from them now. So it's a good, like a 30-minute drive now, from where I used to be. Oh, let me study this. Where I used to be. Now, I have some ladies that where I used to live in the city, I was kind of like in the middle, where I was accessible to them within 30 minutes. So now add that I'm outside of the city another 30 minutes. Some of them would be traveling over an hour. So I've noticed that in these 2.5 years that we've been here, that it was harder and harder for us to meet as a group. Now, in these meetings, gatherings, whatever you want to call them, because that changed too over the years. It would be less and less ladies showing up, or because of the distance, and it was harder and harder to get together. And I've started noticing that that was becoming a problem. Like, I noticed that this is something that we need to solve. So there's a couple things that I would like to change about the ministry, because I'm noticing that, change is good. And change is something that we all have to face. We're never going to be the same. But I've been noticing that that we have to do something different about our gatherings and how we meet. Now, we have not met for several months now, and we're all kind of taking a break from the meetings and gatherings, because it makes no point in gathering if people are not showing up, or they're showing up sometimes and not always. And so yeah. And see, also at these gatherings, when we would show up, this is also where they would pick up their supplies and drop off any items and things like that. So anyway, that seems to be one of our struggles now, is the fact that the meeting, actually. So that was one of the questions. I wanted to figure out where that's our problem, because we need to find a good place to meet. And we also needed, another issue that I had to address was the supplies. Now, it just, it may seem like when I'm showing you these hauls now, and the yarns and the things, that's because I've been buying the yarn myself. Now, but that is not something that I've done in the 6 years almost. We've only solely worked out of donations. And basically, I would really have to hustle for these donations. I mean, it's a lot of work to get donations of yarn. And I never used my money to buy yarn. Now, And it was always, there were times where it was like a touch and go lean year, um, and then sometimes we would have really nice, donations. Um, but I would like to kind of change that, and because it's just such a struggle to keep constantly, getting yarn. Now, the yarn that I've been showing you guys since I've been on YouTube is, I mean, I've been going out and buying, my own yarn. I've been using my own money for this, and but I've also found a lot of great deals that I would have not normally, I've been really out there searching, and that has a lot to do with the community of YouTube, because I am alerted to these great deals that are going on, which I never paid attention to any of that stuff before. So that's all thanks to everyone here. So that's different now, and it may seem like I'm getting all this yarn, yeah, but I'm using my own money to do so. Something that I didn't set out to do when I started the ministry. I wanted it to be solely donations, and it has worked so far. But like I said, it is a constant, searching for donations and going out there and so I would like to change that. But how do you change something that's been active for years and then you go and say, hey, that's not what we're going to do anymore? So I don't know. I just feel like the ministry is undergoing some changes again, and I wanted input from people. What are you guys doing? So yesterday I posted it on our Facebook page, the same thing, to see, if I was going to get anything from that point. And I have gotten a lot of responses, and basically almost every group out there, they have like the same type of, I don't want to, what do you call it, policies or regulations or whatever with their groups. They, so I don't know. This is just something that I've been thinking a lot about, and now that it's summer and we don't really do much in the summer, it's more like our time off for the ladies, and also I'm hoping to revamp the ministry and make it better where it works well for everyone. We, like I said, our two major issues right now is the fact that the constant looking for donations, and the second thing is, because I have two ladies that are like very I guess I call it professional crocheters and knitters, because they're like a machine. Boom boom, they're always putting out stuff. They love to crochet, so they go through a lot of yarn. Now I have to admit that I have one of the ladies that always puts in a lot of her own yarn in too. Also, she donates a lot of her own yarn. But anyway, that seems to be one of our issues, is the meeting, finding a place where we can meet. We used to meet in my apartment, and that worked great for like almost 5 years, where everybody was in the apartment. 4 years and all, actually 4. But the problem with that was that people never come on time. So it's like in any kind, I used to volunteer a lot in my church. I was a Sunday school teacher, a coordinator there. And let me tell you, volunteers just come when they feel like it. They don't like to adhere to any kind of schedule. So, when we would meet in my place, for instance, and they loved it. They loved coming to my home. And I think that was probably the most successful, is when they came to my home. But for me, it was an all-day thing. When they came to my home, it was very exhausting, because when I started it, I used to work at third shift. So I would come home like 7:30 in the morning. I would start cleaning, getting everything ready, and I had this tiny apartment. So you put in like 5 women in a room, and suddenly it seems like a tiny space. And and then I would always offer refreshments, and then they would come in from like supposedly from 12 to 3, but it would always be like more like 1 or 2. And then I have this one lady who's always always like an hour before we're supposed to be done, she walks in. So you know what I mean? There's always, I've learned that volunteers adhere to their own schedule, their own everything, and I get it because volunteerism. I believe they're volunteering their time, and they're not getting paid for this. So that's always been. So when we would meet in my place, they would come in late. It was at that time 12 to 3. They'd be coming in at 1, and then they would not leave at 3. They would leave at 5, or and then finally when they would leave, that's when I would clean up, or I would just, I would also wash every item, and and it seems like my whole Saturday would go just for this. And yeah, and then there was, I also had a lady who never showed up when the meeting was, but she would show up like the following week. I'm telling you, I could write a book, but I love these ladies. So anyway, that now that we're out here, it seems harder and harder, even though we've met at parks, we've met in restaurants, coffee shops, we've met in a lot of different places. And I've noticed that, a lot of the ladies have certain, like some may like the coffee shop, but others will like the restaurant, or another one will like the park. And it's hard to get everyone on board with a place, but they seem to really like my apartment. But the thing is, like I said, with my apartment, it's like once they come, they don't want to leave. And as much as I love them, I still have other things that need to be done. So I don't know. I have to think about this. I noticed that a lot of the groups, they meet in actual community settings, like the park district, or they meet in like a firehouse, or I wish I had that here, or things like that. I wish I had a space like that, but I don't know. I have to look into it. And the other thing is like I really would like to change this yarn thing, because like I said, it's getting harder and harder, and maybe not even harder as much as I'm just tired. I don't. I'm hustling for yarn all the time, and I much prefer just going to the store and purchasing and looking for the deals rather than looking for donations. And then you may think, well, why don't you just if people donate money to you or whatever. Well, then you get tricky, because we are not an official, how can I put this, charitable organization. I did not file for that, and that involves filing and getting, once you deal with money from other people, then you have to be held accountable for that. And then there's always someone who thinks that you're keeping the money for yourself, and I didn't want to do that. I do not want to do that. So I'm going to see how it's going to work out. I know I'm rambling on. That's why it's Sunday Ramble. But that's what I've been thinking about, is trying to improve this ministry where it's kind of just flowing. And the third thing that I've always been looking for is kind of like a backup person, like a moderator, or I used to call him my VIP, my vice president. I've always looked I wanted to find someone within the ladies that would kind of like fill in for those times that I couldn't make it. In these 6 years, I went through 2 bouts with cancer, and each time, the ministry just kept going, whether I went through treatment or not. And of course, that is also exhausting, and I wish I had someone to kind of be my partner, a backup to kind of show up, when I couldn't. So these are just some of the things that I'm thinking about. So if you don't see anything, like right now we're for summer and the ladies are not doing anything, I don't know. I don't know what to do. I'm kind of really feeling stuck about what we're going to do come September, um, when it all really begins again. And, I've done so many different things in these 6 years. I mean, we've had theme meetings, where every month, they had a theme, like we had a ladies' tea or, things like that. Or we would learn different techniques like arm knitting, or we would go and volunteer at other organizations. So, I mean, like we've done so many different things, and I think I would just like it to be where we gather and just talk and crochet or knit or, and everybody kind of went on their own. And if people wanted to donate, they donate. And I don't know. I think I'm going to have to do a um, reopening of the ministry. you know. Oh, another thing I wanted to point out, and I'm not pointing this out for any other reason except that, maybe people are not aware of, but in the beginning when we started, we only um, made deliveries in the community. We did not go outside of the community. And I had quite a few delivery people who were willing to do this. Now, like I said, people come and go. And in these 6 years, it's like I had a lot of different people come through and they left for whatever reason. They got married, they had babies, they moved. I mean, some, they just wanted to learn how to crochet and move on. And, but now it seems like the ministry just kind of exploded. And we are donating to other organizations outside of our state. I mean, we sent out packages to Tennessee, to Texas, to, I mean, like all over the place, Kentucky. And so I always end up using, when I go to the post, I mean, I think we only this year, I think we maybe only deliver like 2 or 3 times by um, using our car. That's it. Everything else was sent out through the mail, and that I pay through my, that comes out of my own pocket, which I don't mind doing that. I'm not saying that to make anyone feel like, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. Oh, you poor thing. Not at all. Like I think of it in, like people go get their nails done or they go to Starbucks every day. I just send out packages, and I really love doing that. I love going to the post office and mailing things out. It is not a hardship for me in any way. But I just really I want to change the ministry up, and I really don't know how to go, what I'm going to do. And I think the best thing I'm going to do is just be still and kind of just let it happen naturally. And that's always worked the best. I just don't want any one of you to think that, if I'm not mentioning the ladies, or if I'm not mentioning, I don't know, the meetings, or, I mean, things in general. We're still active. We're still going. Um, I had Bridget not long ago just call me and say, hey, I got some things for the, and we met, and she, you know, uh, made a whole bunch of things that, blankets and things like that. So, I mean, the ministry is still going. I just want to do a revamping, change things up. So I just really want, if you could just keep us in your prayers that, that I can make the change, and that it will come to me, as to what I should be doing next and how to do this. So, and people don't really like change either. So I don't know. I'm more concerned as how the ladies will feel about supplying their own yarn. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think that that's such a terrible thing? Or if I did that, if I asked them to kind of, I mean, we could do like monthly giveaways for each other, where I would, raffle off a bag of yarn or something for the ladies. Or, I mean, I could think of something like that. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you guys think I can get that would be really bad if I asked them to use their own yarn? I don't know. I'm still thinking. Nothing is nothing's written in stone. Well, anyway, thank you so much for listening to me. Like, you guys always listen to me. And sometimes I'm just amazed that anybody even wants to watch and view my silly ramblings and things like that, because what I've noticed about YouTube is that people don't really want to, if you put the word cancer or anything like that, once the cancer treatment is over, people just move on. So, people don't really stick around once their cancer is done, and people don't get viewed, let's put it that way, with life after cancer. So I really appreciate you guys very much for listening to me and commenting and emailing. And I also want to point out, again, it is, I will make blankets for anyone who has a sick friend or sick relative or anything. You guys just feel free to email me, get hold of me, and I will make a blanket for anyone that has an illness that you know of. I will mail it out to them. I would love to do that. I am actually making one right now for someone who has a substance abuse problem, an addiction, and they have reverted back. So I'm hoping, I don't know, I'm putting a lot of love into this blanket, folks, and I'm going to show you and tell you more about it in another video. Well, anyway, so thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't, and comment below, guys. I really like your opinion. Do you think that would be such a bad, I mean, I know, would you be upset if you were in a group and you've always had the material supplied to you, and then you were asked to get your own yarn? Would that really upset you? I don't know. It's just something I'm thinking about. It's not written in stone. So anyway, thank you so much. Happy Sunday, everyone. Bye bye.